What's good, everybody? This is Kez Gain. I'm Khalil Zephyrin. I got my special guest here, my cousin.
Yep, John Williams Jr. back again.
Today we're gonna be talking about pretty much everything that's gone on the past week in terms of sports. Starting with the draft. We're just be going through pick by pick, talking about some picks more than others, and starting off. We don't have to talk about this too much.
Yeah, we
but
seen Mendoza was gonna be
the Raiders drafting Fernando Mendoza. We've known about this for
since they won.
Yeah, since they got the first overall pick.
Like,
So, moving on, we got the Jets taking David Bailey. I like this pick for a number of reasons. He was obviously the best edge in the draft.
yeah, I really liked him up at Texas Tech. And when you look at his stats, I mean, 13 and a half sacks. I think he had like 74, 79 pressures, which was like second or third in college football. Like, he was dominant, and I think he really flourished at Texas Tech. We'll see what he does on the Jets, but I mean, they're building stuff.
What a little problem I had with that pick. It's nothing too crazy, but when you draft an edge, like you can argue that the Jets didn't really need edge because you had Will McDonald on the other side. So we'll see how that goes. But moving on, we have for some reason a controversial pick with the Cardinals taking Jeremiah Love.
Yeah,
I don't understand the hate there.
I think why people look at it as controversial is because, like, they already have a solid offense. They have Michael Wilson. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. They have Trey McBride. And maybe they wanted to go defense, but their running backs are a little questionable. Obviously, we got to see a lot of Demercado because James Conner got hurt. But I think getting a lock at running back who could be your guy for the next 4+ years if they want to extend him or whatever the case may be. But he's obviously the best running back in the draft. In a running back class that's not too heavy, I mean, I personally like the pick.
Yeah, another reason I think people didn't like it is because they didn't need running back.
Yeah.
Now, yes, they did because you have James Conner, who's 30, coming off of a year where he was out for the year, and even when he did play, he had 90 yards through 3 games.
He wasn't stellar or anything like that. And Demercado, he was.
And
he was serviceable.
You had them picking up Tyler Algier, but he can be your RB2 to a Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
And I just want to remind you all, the same criticism for this pick is what the Falcons faced when they drafted Bijan, what the Lions faced when they got
Jahmyr
Gibbs. So
number 4, Titans drafting Cardinal Tate. This was a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't see, because there's definitely other places that you can go with it, but I think with the Titans, especially after last year, I mean, they got Wan'Dale Robinson, they got Calvin Ridley, who hasn't been producing what we thought he would there. Eric Iominer, Chimere DK, but there is no guy. He's not the guy. Like Wan'Dale, I feel like he's a great slot guy, but they don't have a deep threat. Like Calvin Ridley could be at his peak, but he hasn't been that for Tennessee, and I think Cardinal Tate's that guy.
I like the pick. I love Tate's upside. In terms of the Titans, personally though, I think they could have done better drafting a guy like Reese.
For sure, they definitely should have went defense, but the best
thing you can do for your developing quarterback is to get him help.
Yep.
So I'm not mad at that pick at all for them.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the Giants taking the aforementioned Reese, and I don't know about this pick. Now, a lot of people have been saying the Giants won this draft. I don't get that at all.
I don't believe so.
This started their first round, and they pick a linebacker who's more of a pass rusher, but he can't be a linebacker. and I think we all know the Giants don't need pass rush.
I think it really just like depends on if he's willing to make that sacrifice. I feel like since it's a rookie, they're gonna have the say. But I feel like he's gonna have to make the sacrifice. They might like blitz him sometimes because they typically play a 4-3 defense. So he might be a blitzer at times. We'll see how they use him. He could be a utility guy like Michael was in his rookie year, but we'll see how he gets used. It was kind of confusing though.
Harbaugh has said he may use him in the middle after they cut Bobby. So we'll see how that works out. Moving on, we have the Chiefs trading up to pick up
Mansour Delaney. That was surprising. I thought that they traded up to get Caleb Downs. And I don't. My whole thing was they had to hear something around the league that either Washington or New Orleans was gonna pick up Mansour because they were already 9. Like it would have been something if they jumped from like 20-6 to get him, but they jumped up from 9-6. And it's not like Mansour Delaney's not a great talent. I just expected Caleb Downs. Like he was an elite guy. I think he allowed 165 yards in from scrimmage and coverage. Like that's amazing. There's no doubt that he's a lockdown corner, but it was the trade up for me. Like if
definitely
they got
the best corner in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. If they got him at 9, I would have been like cool. But it's them trading up, giving away I think like a fourth or whatever the case may be, to go get him opposed to just getting him at 9.
Yeah, I like the pick too. You get your McDuffie replacement, and they might have to double up on corner.
Yeah, they
in the following round because they also lost their guy Jalen Watson.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do. We also got the Commanders picking up Sonny Styles. That was a great pickup, I believe.
It was. I think it was a great pickup, but there's just controversy because after his combine, it split everybody in half. It made some people think, okay, people are looking too much at his combine, how fast, like how well he moves in a combine setting, and some people are just saying, okay, well now he's finally getting the shine that he deserves. Because when you play for a big school like Ohio State, it helps and hurt. Like sometimes we see players all the time, every year, go under the radar when they're playing with a stellar team, and especially since Ohio State not only didn't win the national championship, but we expected them to at least be there. And since they kind of disappointed in that sense, I feel like it hurt some of their players. But I think it was a great pick. I think Sonny Styles is a great linebacker. He'll definitely help Washington.
Moving on, we got the Saints drafting Jordan Tyson. I like the pick. Jordan Tyson's a great player. I just don't think he's the second best receiver in the draft.
See, my thing, he definitely has that upside. My only concern with him is injuries.
Yeah.
He's been injured every year that he's been in college, and we have to hope that it's not going to be the same in the NFL, and obviously.
And you put that injury risk in a receiving room with Olave, who's had
countless
concussion problems.
Thinking about retiring, that's not great, but. Obviously, New Orleans is going to have a lot better staff and stuff like that than Arizona State, so we just got to hope, really.
And, of course, no Derek Carr throwing hospital balls. Moving on, we got the Browns picking up Spencer Fano, offensive tackle. This is a good pick. They probably should have picked receiver, but you can't go wrong with picking offensive tackle.
I felt like I thought that they were gonna go. Honestly, I figured that they were gonna go Caleb Downs. Once the Saints didn't take him, I thought. There was no shot he goes past 10. And obviously we'll get into that when he actually got picked. But I thought the Browns, obviously their defense was the only shining part of their season last year, which obviously had Myles Garrett, but they also had the defensive rookie in the year, and Carson Schwarzenegger. I thought that they would get that guy up top, so they got a guy on all 3 levels. Spencer Fano, I like the pick. it's not that it was confusing really, because they need offensive line help, especially with two young quarterbacks, not knowing who they're gonna pick. Um, but I just thought that they would go with more of a best guy available situation than offensive tackle. I like the pick though.
And next up, we have the Giants taking
Francis.
offensive tackle
Yeah,
Francis from Miami
Francis Mwaga,
over Caleb Downs.
he's definitely a great offensive lineman,
But
but nah, especially with them trading Dexter Lawrence for this pick, I felt like, especially since Caleb Downs dropped, that was
yeah, I don't love the process picking him up. I don't. And then you don't really need offensive tackle either.
I was gonna say
You have
don't
Andrew
really need
Thomas
it.
on one side, elite offensive tackle. Then you have I'm
What is?
forgetting his name, but
I was gonna say.
he's a very serviceable right tackle on the other side. You just don't need to pick
It's not
tackle
necessary.
first round, especially when you have a generational talent like Downs available,
Yeah.
and then you let a division rival pick him up.
Yeah, that was terrible from the Giants, and
Everybody says that the Giants are one of the winners. I just don't think so.
I feel like both of their picks were confusing in a sense. Like I just don't understand the thought process there. Like I like him as an offensive tackle, and if Caleb Downs is already off the board, I'd be like okay. But with Caleb Downs still on the board, it was just a confusing pick to me.
Yeah, as we mentioned, the Cowboys ended up getting Caleb Downs.
They traded up from 11. From 12 to 11, traded with Miami, and
It's a great pick.
I love
He's-
Caleb Downs. He gotta go
It's
to the
a-
Cowboys.
It's a it's a great pick. I don't think it's gonna. Their defense probably still gonna suck, but
Yeah, but it's not.
He's gonna help.
Him. I was gonna say I think he's still gonna be a great piece for them. Shoot, it seems like every time they have a good piece, they lose him. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes. But I think Caleb Downs he's the most generational safety prospect I've seen this decade, and honestly,
he
one
can
of the
just ball
most.
them all.
Yeah, he's a gamer. I think he's gonna be. I think he has the most potential in this draft. I think he does everything well. Like run support. He can play the middle. He can he can cover. I think he's the perfect guy in the draft. I think he's overall the best player in this draft.
Absolutely.
And for him to drop to 11 was really surprising to me. Cowboys got a stud at 11.
Next up, we got the Dolphins picking up Caden Proctor. I like that pick. They definitely needed offensive line help.
Mhm.
This won't help out
I was gonna say,
Willis too much.
This won't do much. I mean, the
They're just gonna get fresh from the other side.
The Dolphins need everything, so it is not much.
But this is a good start
I was gonna say
to their rebuild.
it's definitely a good start. I mean, starting with offensive line, you got to start forward and build backwards. I think if they can get a solid offensive line,
I mean, the one thing these last two Super Bowls have taught us, the trenches matter. So you build from the trenches.
Yep.
Moving on, we got the Rams picking up Ty Simpson. This was my favorite pick of the first round. I'm a big Ty Simpson guy. I think he has potential to be the best QB in the draft, and when you put him in a system with Sean McVay, you got Puka Nacua. I don't think he's gonna end up playing with Devontae Adams, but you have to assume they pick up a receiver, and they have a bunch of serviceable guys at the three spot. A lot of people say that Sean McVay didn't like the pick. That's not true. He would have preferred they drafted a skill position, but he just needs to work on his poker face.
I love the situation for Ty Simpson. He goes into a system with Sean McVay, one of the best coaches in the league. He gets to sit behind Matthew Stafford, learn from him. He gets Puka Nacua, great weapon. He'll be there. when Ty Simpson's time comes, and he'll be able to soak up all the knowledge from Devontae Adams as well. My only thing with it, I feel like they could have went somewhere else and traded up later in the second. I feel like 13 is a little high for him, especially when they have the MVP. Obviously, not going to be there probably more than 2 years. He's probably going to be gone after next year. But I feel like they could have looked to trade up late in the first, as we've seen later in the draft. Obviously, like the Bills were willing to trade. There were teams that were willing to trade, and they could have got someone
I
there.
mean, I see what you're saying, but I just wouldn't have risked it because
I could see
the
that.
Steelers could have drafted him. That was something I very much considered. That's why I was so surprised when the Rams drafted him. I thought he was a Steeler. And honestly, don't be surprised if 1 year or 2 years down the line when he gets his chance, don't be surprised if he's able to put up top 10 caliber numbers.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a great quarterback. You already know who my quarterback of the draft is, but
Yeah. Which Drew Aller may be a Steeler, so we'll see how that goes.
I hope. Moving on. 14, Ravens got an O lineman, interior O lineman. I feel like they needed it, especially with Linderbaum being gone.
And Falali being,
Yeah, we don't even got to talk about Daniel, but I feel like they needed it. They've lost a lot of pieces this offseason, and I feel like Lamar can do it, especially they got Derrick Henry being able to get a solid O line to open up the run game, and once the run game's open, that allows the pass game to start flowing. And I think obviously that starts in the trenches, and I think that's a good pick for Baltimore.
yeah. Moving on, we have Ruben Bain falling to 15,
Dropping to 15.
where the Bucks take him. That is a great pick for the Bucks.
Yep.
They obviously need to pass rush. Their guy Kalijah Kancey, he's more of a run stopper.
I was gonna say.
He's not a pat.
He's not like a
He's the guy who
pass
generates
rusher.
pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So they definitely needed that.
Yeah, Ruben Bain, he's a dog. You
He's
see
gonna
him
be
at
a monster.
Miami. Yeah.
And if this class didn't have one of the best safety prospects ever, he would be my pick for DPOY,
Yeah.
which he still could be because it's hard for a safety to get it.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Moving on, we got the Jets drafting Kenyon Siddick.
Yep.
I like the pick. He was definitely the best tight end in the draft. I'm not sure they needed a tight end with Mason Taylor. I would have liked seeing him fall to the Panthers to get him.
Yeah. There was definitely different options for the Jets, but I think it really just depends on how they want to run their offense. Like, I feel like if they're running a lot of one tight end sets, then I don't really like the pick. But if they're gonna be running more two tight end sets, single back formation, stuff like that, to get both of them involved, or if they're gonna sometimes have like Mason Taylor, especially since he's a better run blocker than Kenyon Sadiq, if they're gonna have him at fullback at times, getting out through there. I just want to see how it's gonna go, because I think he's definitely easily the best tight end in this draft. Is really just how they're gonna use him and Mason Taylor.
Next up, we have the Lions getting their Taylor Decker replacement with
Blake
Miller out of Clemson.
Clemson alum.
Not much to say about it. Good pick. A lot of tackles taken this draft. This is a very deep tackle class.
Yeah, I think it hurt his draft stock because speaking of Clemson, we were pretty disappointing this year but that was just on all cylinders. I think that hurt his draft stock, and also another player that we'll be talking about later in the draft. But I think Blake Miller is going to be a good replacement for the Lions.
Next up, we have the Vikings grabbing Caleb Banks, and they definitely needed defensive line help.
Yeah.
After free agency, they lost Jonathan Allen. They lost Javon
I was
Hargrave.
gonna say they
They
lost.
desperately needed defensive line help.
Yeah,
So
they needed a interior defensive lineman to look to plug in the hole.
and that was the perfect guy for them. So
Yep. I like the pick.
moving on, we got the Panthers picking up Monroe
Freely.
Feeling. Um,
I think
I don't. I'm not a big fan of the pick. I don't think they really need a tackle.
I was gonna say I feel like they could have went other places with the pick.
Like Mekhi Levin,
I
who went
was
a
just
pick.
about to say
Yeah,
they definitely could have went with the guy that was picked right after them. We'll see how it goes, but
and I think if you're taking offensive line, you could focus on the interior, but they picked him up. Moving on, we got the Eagles picking up Mekhi Lemon.
I think
Sorry, we just got news that Kevin Durant
is ruled out for Game 3.
Yeah,
Um,
that might be a sweep, but we'll get there later. We got the Eagles drafting Mekhi Lemon, and I love this pick. Not like particularly for the Eagles, but as a Patriots fan, that just confirmed to me,
It's
solidified to me that
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown is
a
coming
Patriot.
home.
He is a Patriot. He's coming back to Mike Vrabel, and I love to see it. Now I will say I've been seeing. I don't say hate, but kind of. A lot of people are talking about how they don't like Mekhi Lemon and Devonta Smith as a 1 and 2 because they're both smaller guys. But I could see it, but it's not like we've seen Devonta Smith. He's a slot receiver that's versatile. He didn't win the Heisman for no reason. He's also a deep threat. Like, he can go get deep balls. Like, he reminds me of a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. Not with the speed, but just with being a smaller guy that has a huge catch radius and being able to go get jump balls that you just wouldn't expect someone for his size and stature to be able to get.
And by the way, if Hurts can throw the ball downfield, don't be surprised if Devonta Smith is an OPY candidate.
Yeah. And Mekhi Lemon's going to be a great Robin to Devonta Smith's Batman.
Yeah. Moving on, we got the Steelers taking Arizona State tackle. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that name, but
We'll call him Max. I can't remember how they announced it on the during the draft yesterday, so
me neither.
we'll stick to Max. I feel like they probably would have went Ty Simpson, and they
Yeah.
had to kind of audible to offensive tackle, but I could see them looking to get a Garrett Nussmeier, Kate Klubnik, Drew Adler, in the second to third round pick, depending on who they get.
This is another pick where I feel like you could have strayed away from left tackle.
I was gonna say they have Pittsburgh right now is in a weird spot because it's like they have a solid, like, they just made the playoffs, but they got a new head coach. They have a solid team, but not a great team. They have pieces leaving. We don't know how they're gonna work. They have a ton of young players, but then a ton of old players. They don't really have they're not really bridging the gap. They're just in a weird position, and I think that they definitely could have went with somebody else here.
We know the Steelers are never gonna blow it up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Moving on, we got the Chargers drafting edge out of Miami. I don't understand this
It's no offense to him. I think Akeem's a great player. I think that's a terrible pick, and honestly, the Chargers are one of the biggest losers in this draft.
Yeah.
In the first round. Justin Herbert was the most hit quarterback in the league last year.
And in one of the deepest offensive line
Offensive line.
classes,
They
you
go-
don't pick offensive line.
They
in the
go
first round.
edge rusher. That
When you already have Khalil Mack,
that made no sense.
who's
to
not
me.
aging, by the way. I know some of you guys are gonna say that he's not aging.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's different. Yeah, I don't really like that pick.
Next up, you have the Cowboys, arguably going with the better edge,
I was gonna say
Ma-
Malachi.
Malachi Lawrence. This is a good pick. The Cowboys had a great draft, definitely better than the Giants. Um,
Yeah.
Still shoring up that defense. You put him next to Quinn Williams.
Yep. You know,
And on the other side of
I would
Sean Gary,
I would have loved to see him on the other side of Micah
Micah.
Parsons. You know, with Caleb Downs up top, that would have
Yeah.
been
That-
something to watch. But we know how that went.
Yeah.
I like the pick, but I think Micah said it best. Because he was on Bleacher Report last night. He said, "I just hope they don't compare him to me. Like, not him trying to like ego boost, but
the fans.
just the fans, Dallas is like, let him build his own path, because since he's filling in for Micah, you already know how the narratives go. Can he
Yeah.
be the Micah Parsons replacement? And that also ends up in players, when they can't fill that role, they get a shorter leash, and we see guys get traded away, get shipped off when they don't even deserve it. So I just hope that he can, because I think he's a dog.
I don't think he was that talented in the first place, but
Yeah.
a good comparison would be Traylon Burks,
Yeah.
just constantly pressured to be the AJ Brown replacement.
Yep.
When the Titans organization knew they wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
replace that talent with one pick.
So yeah, I hope he just sticks his lane. I think he'll be perfectly fine.
Moving on, we got the Browns taking Casey Conception. I like this pick. You could have doubled up on receiver, but you do need tackle.
Honestly, I like this pick, and I think that they didn't double up just because. Excuse me. This receiver class, I think Carnell Tate's the best one. I think there's like the Jordan Tysons, the Makai Lemons, like Omar Cooper, Casey Cassett, like they're all close together.
Yeah.
So I think that they knew that they'd be able to get one of those guys. And I really like Elijah Surratt out of Indiana. There's a couple other guys, receivers, because realistically, they have Jerry Jeudy. We'll see how he is this season. He came from a down year last season. But they drafted Isaiah Bond last year. They got Casey Concepcion. But if they drafted somebody at 9, there wasn't really a number one guy. I feel like that's why they went offensive tackle. So I feel like there's not a huge gap from some of these guys. So they can definitely draft somebody in the second round.
Moving on, we got the Bears taking Dylan Thielman.
Yep.
I really like that pick. He's your Kevin Byard replacement.
Yep.
Yeah, just a great pick for the Bears.
Yeah, I think he was a dog at Oregon. I like Oregon.
Another
so-
guy that can pretty much just do anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say
around
he's
around the
also
field.
a great safety. He would have easily been the best safety in this draft class
If not,
for Caleb Downs.
Yeah.
Not to keep mentioning him, but yeah.
moving on, we got the Texans finally addressing offensive line in the first round.
Kalen Rutledge, great pick.
Yeah,
They needed offensive linemen. We've seen that in the playoffs. Give CJ time, because we've seen in that playoff game against the Patriots, when he didn't have time, he started to get flustered, and once he made that first mistake, he kept trying to get it back quickly, and it just kept leading to mistakes. If you give him time, we were talking about give up on him. He was just fine. He'll be fine. Just get him help.
I think this is very similar
what we
to
do.
how Bryce's career started,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how C.J. Stroud's career is going. Just give him time.
Mm-hmm.
Let him get his confidence up, and I think Stroud and Bryson can both have big years this year.
Yep. Pick
Moving on,
27.
we got the Dolphins picking up Chris Johnson.
Not the running back. I like the pick. I think he's a great corner. There's definitely a couple other corner prospects, but I think he would have been looked at better if he didn't go to San Diego State. I mean, it's a great pickup for the Dolphins.
Yeah, well, I do like the pick. I think with them trading Waddle, you could have done better with picking up Omar Cooper Jr. or
For
Denzel
sure.
Boston.
For sure. But I think they're looking to build O line, build secondary first. We'll see if that's consistent because Miami's never consistent with what they look to do.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry he has to go to that dumpster fire, but I think
Moving
it's
on,
a
we
good
got
pick.
the Patriots
Trading
trading
up.
up to grab Caleb Lomu.
Yep.
Um,
I
I,
th- I think I think picking Caleb, obviously he could sit behind Morgan Moses. Then when we have to get rid of him, he can come in there.
and that's why I don't love the pick. Because
It's
you
not
don't take depth in the first
I
round.
was gonna say it's definitely not a, but I was hearing it could be hinting at, Will Campbell moving inside, which I don't think it's gonna happen. But
I believe Wolf was against that.
yeah, I think he was, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I have to assume it is because I don't understand any other reason that you go offensive tackle.
I think you at least try Will Campbell inside, because he has
Mm-hmm.
the potential to be a better guard than tackle, I believe.
Yeah. Um.
But of course, if he struggles, you move him back to tackle.
Yeah. I think we'll see how it goes. I like him as a prospect. It's just the questions with our O line, especially since after the Super Bowl, we've had questions about our O line. Is Will Campbell staying inside, outside, whatever the case may be? Are we moving on from Morgan Moses? What's going on? So he's just going into a
And a
messy.
bit of a bad omen is him pretty much saying the exact same thing Will Campbell said last year in his speech.
Yeah.
So I don't love that. Next up, we have the Chiefs picking up Peter Woods. This is a good pick. You put him next to Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. Another good pick for the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, I don't know how we keep letting them get away with this. Like Peter Woods, I think his draft stock, like I was talking about with Blake Miller, I think his draft stock really tanked
Yeah.
with Clemson's poor performance. He's gonna be a dog, and I think especially since like obviously since he's going to the Chiefs, it kind of hurts, but I think him going to learn behind Chris Jones is probably the best situation that he could have went into, and I think with the Chiefs going secondary, going D line, looking to shore up the defense, I really like that for the Chiefs.
And their goal this offseason has really just been taking pressure off Mahomes.
Yep.
You pick up Kenneth Walker, you shore up the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the Chiefs, but I like what they're doing.
Yeah. New York.
And next up, you have the Jets picking up Omar Cooper Jr.
I really
and
like the pick.
I really like what the Jets are doing.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think that they win the draft. I think Omar
Yeah.
Cooper's, I think he's a dog. He has the mix of speed. He has some size on him. He
Yeah.
got great hands. He can run routes. He's just a mixture.
You put him next to Garrett Wilson, and I think they can both put up big numbers.
Yeah, I think this
Next
kind of
year.
moves down. I like it because, no offense to Adonai Mitchell, but he's not what they traded for him to be.
Not what I thought he would be.
He was just in the package to get something back from Sauce, but we seen he's not the guy. I mean, I feel like he could do better on a third receiver option, fourth receiver option, where he's not in every play. But I really like the Omar Cooper Jr. signing.
Having those guys in Brees Hall in an offense with Geno Smith is it's kind of like putting lipstick on a pig, but they'll get a quarterback next year.
I think what they're gonna do, and I think what they should do, draft a Garrett Nussmeier, a Drew Aller, a Cade Klubnik, someone, especially since you don't have to use a first round pick on a quarterback. My guy, like no bias, would be Drew Aller just because he has probably the highest upside. Honestly, arguably the highest upside of anybody in this draft class. Like he was
The highest floor too, I believe.
yeah, he was a Heisman hopeful before he went down with that injury. Someone with high upside, if you could snag him in late second, early third, I think if you draft him, you just have a test year with him. If it doesn't go well or he's not showing the potential that you want,
You still have the first round pick next
from
year.
next year. That's what I think they should do, and if they do that, I think that they're gonna win the draft, not just first round, but just flat out in general.
Next up we have the Titans picking up Kedrick Folk out of Auburn. I like the pick. The Titans definitely needed pass rush help. They took I forgot his name, but they took a pass rusher next year. He was more of
Yeah,
a project.
Michael Williams. Yup.
No, that wasn't Michael Williams.
Was it? It was.
They took he was a linebacker in college. They kind of made him into a pass rusher
Let
for
me see.
for him to be more of a project. I don't remember.
Oh, I
his
get what.
name.
Yeah, I get what you're talking about. But I think that it's really gonna help them just because we don't know what's going on with Jeffrey Simmons if he's gonna stay.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to get consistent pass rush. I feel like it starts in the trenches, especially for a team that doesn't have the greatest offense, doesn't have the greatest defense. Secondary is a little iffy. Offense is iffy. You have to
You have to
like-
ensure that you have a good pass rush.
that can keep you in games that you shouldn't be in. In the
Move it.
last pick of the first round, the Seattle goes with a running back.
And that's a pick that you can really just afford to go with at Seattle. You have a good quarterback. Your receivers are good. Arguably the best defense in the league. Good offensive line, and with you losing Kenneth Walker, you can afford to take a running back at the end of the first round
Yeah, I think
for him to
Jadarian
kind of
Price-
combat with Charbonnet.
I think Jadarian Price, like, obviously he was behind Jeremiah Love in college, but I think that he was, like, when he got in the game and when he was playing, he showed flashes. I'm interested to see. Obviously, he'll be probably splitting carries with Charbonnet, but especially with Charbonnet's injury history, there'll probably be a point in the season where he is the lone back, and I'm interested to see what he can do in a system by himself.
And with that, we're now going to talk about the NBA playoffs and the games that have passed by us. Starting with starting with the Pistons series, you can have the Pistons and Magic tied 1-1,
Yep.
and I think all of us were caught off guard in Game 1
Yeah.
when the Magic won. I watched that game and I was like, are the Pistons who we think they are? Obviously, they caught a big
Big win.
bounce back win in Game 2
Yep.
where the Magic scored what Bam scored. It'll be interesting to see what happens in Orlando, but
Yeah.
I think after that win, the Pistons can close this out in perhaps 6 games.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Pistons in 6. The Magic definitely surprised in Game 1, especially just because in that first playing game they looked like they didn't even want to be there.
Yeah.
They looked shaky, they looked iffy, but Paulo found his rhythm, and I think the thing with Paulo is he's such a good player, especially when he's on the ball. When he's making shots, everything starts flowing. Then they can start getting other people involved and stuff like that. But when Paulo's
when he's
missing,
not in rhythm.
when he's not in rhythm, he's going to keep shooting. You could see him start to get frustrated. Then he starts to take himself out of the game, and he's already not great off the ball. So once he's frustrated, that's just when there's problems.
I think the main reason the Magic were kind of disappointing this year is when Paolo's off, the team's going to lose because it makes the team worse when he's on the floor and he's off because, as you said, he forces shots.
Yep.
He gets frustrated. He takes himself out of the game.
You want to talk about the Rocket series? No.
Yeah, we can.
You can just get this out the way. This is our take last week is looking
Yeah.
awful. The Lakers steal Game 1.
Obviously, KD wasn't playing, so I was happy for the Lakers, but I was like,
Okay, once
well,
KD comes back, it's gonna
you
be something
can't play.
different.
You can't play like this when KD comes back because that was a
And
sloppy game for them.
and they
Then they came in game two, won that game.
and everything went wrong for Houston. They couldn't get anything going. They're tripping over each other. Sengun's he missed like 10
And
shots in the paint.
Kevin Durant's burner is starting to age a little well.
And Kevin Durant.
And now you have him out for game three with Reeves coming back, probably on restricted minutes, but he's coming back.
Kevin Durant. You're not getting away with this. You had 21, 23. You shot I think around like 53%. You had 9 turnovers. Most people didn't catch that. You're not getting away with 9 turnovers. The whole team played bad, including you, Kevin. With him being out for game 3, Reeves coming back,
And
it's looking like a sweep.
we talked about reputations. I think it was last week or
Last
2
week.
weeks ago.
Yep.
If Kevin Durant not only loses this series but gets swept, that is going to tarnish his reputation.
It's gonna tarnish everything that he's worked for. And honestly, he has to play game 4. Because if he only plays in game 2 and he had 9 turnovers,
That's yeah.
and especially with it going, him going against LeBron and a Lakers team without Luka and without Reeves for half the series, it's not gonna look good for him.
Moving on, we're gonna talk about the Celtics series, and game one was honestly embarrassing for the 76ers.
Yeah, that the Celtics fans
They-
chanting
they
"We
hit-
want Boston" was just
They
a
hit
cherry on
4
top.
3-pointers all game, but let's move on to game two. I'm not gonna stress them too much about the
Yeah,
3-pointers because the thing with Missoula ball is when it works, it works.
It works. So when it doesn't,
We're going to lose.
yeah. And I think that's my one problem with Joe Mazzulla. I said it last week. I think he's overrated. I think he needs
And
to.
he needs to adapt more.
Yeah.
When your game plan isn't working,
You have to be able to change it up. And when it is working, and like when it works in the first half, in the second half, it's those shots aren't falling. You gotta slow it down. There's no need to be taking threes with 18, 19, 17, 16 shots, seconds on the shot clock when we're not hitting and we're up. That's what happened last year. And we're starting to see it again. And he needs to learn how to adapt because we also don't have the shooting that we had
yeah.
last year.
And another reason we lost that game, as good as he's been defensively, Derek White has to be better offensively.
Yeah.
He's
Just-
been.
It was,
I don't know what's going on this year, but he hasn't been
he
the
hasn't
same
been the
offensively.
same guy. He hasn't been close.
And if we had his offense last year combined with his big step forward defensively,
Mm.
that would he would be an all-star contender.
Yeah.
Um,
Moving on, Denver.
yeah. Moving on to Denver. That this series is very surprising. Well, not necessarily surprising, but I didn't think Anthony Edwards would necessarily be 100%,
Mm-hmm.
and
He's been
amazing.
he's been on.
Aside from game one, that he's kind of struggled there,
Mhm.
but he bounced back big in game two, and then they won again in game three.
Yeah.
But that's not even the biggest surprise.
Rudy
Gobert.
Gobert. That's who you have to talk about. Yesterday held Jokic to what? I think it was 2 of 10 shooting, and I
Yeah.
think like
In the
7 of 26.
I believe 2 of 10 was in the fourth quarter of game
Mhm.
two.
I think 2 of 10 for 3, or it was something like that. But Jokic had 27 points on 26 shots. As a big man, you really having to guard Jokic. That's really the best you can do. If you're gonna allow him to take shots and make it hard, if he's shooting under 50%, because you know he's gonna get rebounds, he's gonna play make, but he's limited that all series. And honestly, it's been really Jamal Murray that's been having to take the step up,
Yeah.
and the role players. Jokic has been good. He hasn't been the Jokic that we know and love. He hasn't been the Jokic that we've seen all regular season. If Rudy Gobert can keep this up, we might see the Timberwolves in the second round.
Yeah, big shout out to Rudy Gobert. He's been their most valuable player
Yeah,
throughout this series.
for sure.
Moving on, we're gonna talk about the Knicks and Hawks series. Now this series, like I predicted, it's the most interesting series so far.
Yep.
Game 1, that was close down to like the fourth quarter.
Yep.
The Knicks started pulling away. CJ kind of started shot chucking.
But game 2, the
Game
the run that the Atlanta went on, I believe it was like 28-12, something like that in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter. And when CJ went to the line, I was like, okay, you just gotta hit these two. He misses the first one. I'm like, oh
Okay.
man,
That's fine.
all right, just you gotta make the second one.
And then he misses the second one again.
And Mikal gets the ball and is running down the
Sprints
court.
down the court.
I was
You
like,
have a timeout,
wow.
but you sprint down the court, take a fadeaway that
take a
you
step back fade that is not your shot,
that is not in your bag.
and you clink it to just finish off the choke job. They choked when it mattered. Let's
But you know
Atlanta
what?
come back and
Have
tie
fun,
the
McCall.
series.
Surely you'll bounce back next
Yeah,
game.
surely you'll bounce back in game 3.
And not
21 minutes,
0 points.
1 rebound, 2 assists, 4 turnovers.
And here's the main thing for me. The Knicks lost a 1-point game. It was, for the most part, it was close all game. McCall Bridges had a negative 26 plus minus.
Why is he on the floor? They traded 5 first-round picks for that man to miss a game winner and then come back the next game and put up 0 points, playing 21 minutes and have a negative 26 plus minus. That game
He is 100% gone next year. I don't
I
care
think
if they
he
win
has-
this series. I don't care if they win the finals.
I think he has to be gone. He
They
I
have to
don't-
cut their losses and admit they lost that trade.
Yeah, I don't understand why they made the trade in the first place. You gotta let it go. I think him and Mike Brown are gone next season.
Yeah.
And
He's not the only. Josh Hart, you're not getting away with this either. I know you're not supposed to be a scorer, but you played 40 minutes and
man.
you dropped 2 points.
oh man, on 1 for 9, 0 for 4 from 3.
So you were trying to score.
yeah, like
You just didn't. You couldn't.
you had as many turnovers as you did points, playing 40 minutes. It's ridiculous.
And Brunson,
What was
run
that last-
cone.
He's a mismatch, Every. I'm surprised on that foul late in the game.
Which this is the main thing for me with Mike Brown. Thibs was a guy that obviously Brunson is not a good defender.
Mhm.
Thibs maxed that. Mike Brown plays a bad defensive scheme for the Knicks.
Because Cat's already not a great defender. Brunson's obviously not a great defender. Mikal and Josh Hart, they're usually solid, but they also vary sometimes.
Yeah.
OG, he's the same way as those two. But I feel like they have to figure it out, because if they go down 3-1, it's over. And special shout out to CJ McCollum.
I did not expect any of this from him.
At all. After when they made that trade,
I do take it with a grain of salt since he is being guarded by Brunson, but regardless, you have to clap it up for him because he wasn't expected to do all this. He was tossed in as a cap space guy in the Trae Young trade.
yeah, and he's been killing. He's been their guy even since he got to the Hawks. His last 10 games of the regular season, he was averaging 17, 19 points. He's been outstanding. And the Knicks, look, this officiating got to stop. The Knicks have a Hall of Fame whistle. The ref
loves Cat. They love Brunson.
and I'm surprised Jalen Brunson dragged down Jalen Johnson towards the end of the game and almost hurt Jalen Johnson. And it was just a regular foul. Like, he was grabbing his jersey and threw him on the ground.
But speaking of Jalen
No
Johnson,
technical.
he's been playing well, but it's not necessarily what I expected from him. It's no, most have been McCollum popping off,
Mhm.
but
He's just been a solid.
I think
like,
if they win
second
this
option.
series and they see the Pistons in the second round, that's a series where he might be able to ball out more because Cade's a, a much better defender than Brunson. So
Mhm.
CJ could, I don't think he will, but he could struggle a little bit more against
Mhm.
Cade.
Yeah, I think Jalen Johnson will honestly pick it up in Game 4. But yeah, I think it's a must-win game for New York. It honestly, if I'm New York, I'm putting Jalen Brunson on Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels, I love his defense.
He's a
Big,
liability on
big,
offense.
big, tall, defender. He is one of the worst offensive players I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and I've never seen somebody so smart on defense be so. I don't want to say dumb, but just make bonehead mistakes on offense. I think that has to pick it up. If not this year,
Definitely next year.
definitely in the off season. He got to
He
pick
got
it
to
up.
work on his shot.
I
He
was gonna
got
say
to
work on his shot. Look to get a pull up midi game, something.
yeah.
Um,
Moving on, we can talk about the Cavs series with the Raptors. Um, Now the first two picks, I mean the first two games, I thought this series was gonna be not even close. I thought it was gonna be this just we just got news the second
Second
round
round
has just
started.
started. The 49ers took
Deshaun Stribling.
a receiver out of Ole Miss. We're not gonna talk about that too much,
Yeah.
but it is a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
You just got rid of Ayuk, and you
need
pair him
somebody.
with Pearsall, who should be bouncing back. So it's a good pick.
Yep. But back to the Cleveland series. Yeah, I definitely thought it was looking like a sweep, and
And then out of nowhere,
Toronto comes out and is just dominant yesterday.
yeah,
And RJ was great. Scotty Barnes had 29 points with like 3-4 minutes left in the third quarter, and they were just clicking on all cylinders, and it makes you think like, can they come back and win this series? Because when they're at their best and they're playing like they were yesterday, they're hard to stop because they have a lot of size, and they all play defense.
and when you look at Cleveland, they're I don't want to say they're like I don't want to say dysfunctional, but there are worries within that organization because they've been trying to get at this for a few years, and this looks like their best team yet. Obviously, besides last year, they were the one seed, but this looks like a team that's ready to do it. You replace Harden with Garland.
Mm-hmm.
That's to win now,
Yep.
and
Uh,
you drop this. I don't want to say not really crucial game, but you drop an important game to the Raptors in Game 3. So that's interesting.
Cardinals don't take a quarterback.
They took who?
They didn't take a quarterback. They took a guard.
So
Anyway,
Cardinals took a guard.
I think they were looking for Ty Simpson in the second, and they just panicked. That's really.
I think
all
that's a
it is.
bad pick, but I digress.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got the Spurs series against the Portland Trailblazers, and this series is actually very interesting now because you have Portland taking Game 2, Scoot popping off. Maybe that's a regular thing now. Maybe he's revitalizing his career.
Yeah.
But Wemby got hurt, and that was an ugly injury.
It was scary. He went unconscious.
Yeah.
So
he might
Hopefully he can get healthy, but
he's probably gonna miss the rest of the series, and
he might be able to make a return. We'll see. He's definitely missing the game tonight. He's most likely missing their game 4 because he has a concussion. He has to have 48 hours without showing any symptoms. So we'll see how fast he can recover. I mean,
and when you look at the Timberwolves, they can win this series and possibly see a Spurs without Wemby or a Portland Trailblazers team. And there's a realistic world where the Timberwolves are playing the OKC Thunder in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, we can definitely see it.
Speaking of the OKC Thunder, you have them up 2-0 against the Suns.
Just get
Now,
the brooms out.
Essentially, I mean, typically we wouldn't be talking about this that much, but I want to address the refs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Devin Booker has. Did you see the text?
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
The refs,
He's going.
not really game 1, because that was just an
domination,
obliteration. But game 2 was a
ridiculous.
horrible game for the refs.
Devin Booker's trying to save a ball, and
That's a tech?
which was he already got fouled before that, and they call it check on
And
him.
what was it, like an
I
uncommon
was gonna
shooting
say,
motion?
What did they? What was the term?
Pretty much every Shea foul was like that.
A couple possessions later, he goes into him and shoots like this, and they call the foul. But Devin Booker, who goes and leans in for a
I
bucket.
saw Shed do the same thing in that game.
Yeah, everybody does, especially on OKC. But everybody in the league leans into people and looks to bump people nowadays. And the second Devin Booker does it, which he doesn't even do it a lot.
Yeah.
But the second he does it,
Against 31 other teams, that's not a foul. But against the OKC Thunder, that's a foul.
the Bills beefing up their D line with T.J. Parker. I love that pick.
That's a great pick.
I love that pick.
Because you pair him with Ed Oliver, too. And Greg Rousseau.
I love that.
That's a
pick.
great
I
pick.
love T.J. Parker. Did I say the Texans traded up or the Raiders traded up? Or no, the Texans are trading up. The Raiders trading out. Okay.
That's
Texans being
interesting.
aggressive. But yeah, the refs have.
They've got to be better.
I think the Thunder and the Knicks they just have the whistle on lock,
Yeah.
and it's ridiculous. It has to be stopped. We'll see if it actually does.
It's just not
but
basketball.
It's not. But we'll see how it goes.
Moving on, we got some of the awards coming out. Starting with Wemby unanimously winning DPOY.
First in NBA history. I mean,
we knew he was gonna win.
we knew it. Kendrick Perkins said he believes that he's gonna win the next 5, and honestly, it's
such a realistic.
he might win every year that he's healthy.
Yeah.
Unless they just stop giving it to him, but
I'm surprised he won it unanimously. Usually there's some bonehead that picks someone else.
yeah, but I think it was so clear that even if they did, like, it just
Somebody would look into that.
yeah. Keldon Johnson also winning Sixth Man of the Year.
Well deserved.
Yep. Spurs having two guys winning awards at the end of the season. Keldon Johnson's been a great sixth man. We seen him a couple of years ago getting buckets on a team practically by himself. But now he's had to accept the role of coming off the bench, being a scorer off the bench, and he's really flourished in that role. And I like Keldon Johnson, so I'm happy to see him flourish in that role, be the guy, and everybody knows it too, including the Spurs players, that he's a spark plug, and I like that he's getting the appreciation that he deserves.
And just today, Nikhil Alexander-Walker won Most Improved Player.
Yep.
It was between him or Denny. I personally would have preferred Denny win it just because he was an all-star.
Yeah.
And and of course you have that incredible playing game. But shout out to Nikhil Alexander Walker. He definitely deserves it too.
Yeah.
He's a big reason why the Hawks are in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
He's up there with Jalen Johnson and them trading Dre.
Yep. And Celtics also have an award winner, Derek White, sportsman wins the sportsmanship award. What a guy!
And not really on Derek White, but I noticed something. You have Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in the running. They
That
just
is-
doing anything to glaze him.
Oh wait, that's MVP. Wait.
But yet he was
Oh
in the
wait,
running
no, he
though.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. Harrison Barnes, Bam, Al Horford, T.J. McConnell. So all the vets, and then you just got
Like,
Shea.
When
sitting
you
there.
watch Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
I don't think
play,
Shea has sportsmanship.
What about it screams sportsmanship?
I think it's the exact opposite as a
Yeah.
fan of pure basketball, but that's ridiculous.
Speaking of Shea, he won Clutch Player of the Year.
Yep.
That was a
I
lock.
think that's.
I think he
I think
actually
that's
deserved that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's reasonable. I think he was the clear cut guy for that. I'm not mad at that. MVP prediction. I think they're gonna give it to Shea. I don't think he deserves it though.
I think I'd actually have him third out of those finalists because
Me too.
because when you look at most valuable player, now the NBA or NFL does that consistently.
Yeah.
The
They
most
never do.
valuable player this season was Victor Wembanyama.
Yep. I mean, he was. The,
And another thing, I hated how they cleared Luca for awards, but he wasn't a finalist.
that it. I didn't really understand it.
I don't know
didn't-
who you take out for him
I was
because
gonna say, I didn't-
they
I
weren't
didn't
gonna take
s-
out Shea. They probably
Mhm.
should have, but they weren't gonna take out Shea.
Yeah.
And Jokic and Wemby just did too much to.
I was gonna say
did,
I
but-
don't have him winning, but I don't.
And honestly, after that,
And you see, Anthony
he's not gonna
Edwards
win an
didn't-
MVP.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards didn't get cleared either.
I think he was a finalist for Clutch Player of the Year.
Yeah, he didn't get cleared for I think like MVP or it was for something specific. But I think it has to be Wemby. I think they're gonna give it to Shea, but Wemby was the clear cut guy. He took his team from I don't want to say bottom of the barrel, but they picked third for a reason
Yeah.
to bringing them to the second seed, being the defensive player of the year, on top of consistent scoring. Obviously, he's gonna get rebounds. Just being the true leader of that team.
I mean, he turned De'Aaron Fox, which we know the kind of scorer De'Aaron Fox is. He turned him into
A playmaker.
yeah.
Like it's. I think it's Wemby. I think this is this is probably the first year out of 5 years, out of the 5 year stretch for Jokic where I feel like he didn't deserve it. Like if we're just talking, like bias aside, all that.
Yeah. Because he was obviously his usual dominant self, but in terms of value, he went out for that stretch, and Jamal Murray kept the Nuggets afloat.
Yep.
So
yeah.
when you look at value, you have to look at your team without your MVP candidate, and the
Mhm.
Spurs rank, I believe, very low in offensive and defensive rating without Wemby.
Katie McDonald, defensive tackle from Ohio State to the Texans.
I mean, the Texans had one of the best defenses in the league. I don't think they really need to.
Yeah, I think
shore
they
up
just
that
want.
defense.
I mean, at least it's an interior defensive lineman to work with Will Anderson Jr. and Daniil Hunter. I think maybe they did it because obviously Daniil's on a 1 year. He's getting older. He's not really progressing, but he is starting to get older. So maybe they look to get him in there with those two this year and move on from Daniil next year. But I'm
Well,
interested to
you
see how
traded
this
up to
goes.
do that?
Yeah, I want to see because they traded 117 Wait,
I don't know the process for that.
hold on. It says Houston received 36 and 117. Vegas received 38 and 91. Yeah, honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I mean,
He probably would have gotten taken.
if I was gonna say if that was their guy, that was the pick for them because the
Actually,
Giants.
maybe you don't take him because the Giants. Actually, yeah.
I think
Because
they
the
have
Giants
to, 'cause
would've-
they don't have the the Giants would have definitely taken him because the Giants have a lot of edge rushers, but they don't really have a lot of interior defensive line play.
Yeah.
And Caden McDonald, if you didn't watch college football or Ohio State football, he can clog the middle. So I think if that's who they really wanted and that was who was on their big board,
So
then
that-
trading up was necessary.
So not for nothing, that's another defensive tackle that's off the board for the Giants.
Yep.
A position they needed,
I'm-
not
I'm-
another edge rusher.
I wonder who they are gonna pick. They have to be really annoyed with that.
Yeah.
Um,
As you mentioned, you have the Giants traded Dexter Lawrence earlier this year. I mean, earlier this week. Sorry.
mhm.
For the
10th
Bengals,
pick.
the Bengals 10th pick.
I think
I
there was so much. It was like half and half. Like some people said the Giants got fleeced. Some people said the Bengals got fleeced. I think if the Giants got Caleb Downs, it was a huge thing. I
Yeah.
think it would have been a great deal for them. They get off the contract with Dexter Lawrence. They go bring in a young defensive guy. But
you
they
take
go
the tackle.
they go offensive tackle, which isn't a necessary.
Before the draft, I would have told you that the Bengals, obviously they got their guy Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best defensive tackle in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Might have given up a little too much for him, but
Yeah.
you need to fix that defense up.
I think too many people are starting to.
Now after the draft, the Bengals won that trade.
Yeah, I think too many people are paying attention to the sacks that Dexter Lawrence had, but
He's a nose tackle.
I was gonna say, not every nose tackle is Aaron Donald and gonna get 20 sacks, 15 sacks. Like
Yeah.
he's a true run stopping. He's gonna fill in the gap. Let his edge rushers come in, which they got a lot of them. So
And not for nothing, even though he doesn't have the sacks, he is a good pass rusher.
yeah,
He develops pressure on the quarterback, and that's really all you need from a
Yeah.
nose tackle.
Yeah, so I think the Bengals went after the trade. Like once again, it's nothing against Francis Muaga, but to pick him 10, especially in a deep offensive line draft, I just don't see it.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna end things off. Be sure to stay tuned next week. We're gonna have obviously the MVP and Rookie of the Year, and more draft capital.
The Giants aren't serious.